dimensional you. So here's another kind of pop-up live transmission as part of this Healer's Path of Initiation series that I was guided a little while ago to start bringing through as I am on my Higher Love Tour in Europe. So these standing stones that I'm at are in Sweden, right on the south coast, and I'll put the exact location and the link below. So for those of you who would like to eventually make your way here, let's see, you'll know where they are. So there we go. Very similar to the Lagat Jar alignments in Brittany, France. If you'll remember, I was at those a number of times over the last few years. So my lovely event host, a special shout out to Angelica and Kim. Thank you so much for hosting and bringing me here. So what wants to be spoken about in this third part of the Healer's Path of Initiation series is rewriting rescuer. So it's easy to say, okay, let's step out of the rescuer role, but then what does that mean? How do we show up? I know myself, I've had this inner dialogue, and I know many of you have. Well, I don't want to not be compassionate. How do I, still be loving in a world without rescuing? And it's a really valuable question, and it's one that's at the heart of all of the work that I do now. And I think that's why I'm being guided to bring this out, is just, for those of us who've been walking this path, we might be a few more steps ahead than other people, and that's the beauty of sharing. And then it sparks inspiration, and more of us can find our way forward and evolve our consciousness as a human collective out of being so, kind of triggered and kind of knee-jerk responses and so much conflict. And how can we do unity in a different way without enmeshment, rescuing, wanting to change everything, wanting to fix things. And so at the heart of this rewrite is an examination of the judgment that we're in. You're going to hear me talk about this for the rest of my life here. Judgment has become a way of life on the planet. And it's kind of a strategy to be us and them, like us against the world. And so what I'm going to invite you in at the top of the call, and I'm definitely there's a lot of energy on this, is to begin to contemplate the ways in which you maybe have built a family culture or were brought up in a family culture of criticism externally projected or internally. And so if you get to the heart of what it is that you're trying to rescue, fix, change, and take it out of a projected state, an inward reflection, what we'll often find is that we are enervated because we are agitated internally, or triggered because we're really wanting to have love, and whatever part of us is agitated is seeking that, and then it's often seeking it by fixing it out here. And then we can kind of get into victim culture, judging culture, complaining culture with others, and then it gets really normalized and we don't even catch it. So it takes a lot of consciousness, a lot of mindfulness practice to begin to really observe what might otherwise be in the blind spot and why we might be in that. We have to fix it out here instead of reflect with it in here. So we'll take this out of the esoterics of and I'm being given a really concrete example. So that person needs my help. Will often be an inclination, or this situation needs help. And what we don't recognize, because it's usually in our blind spot, is our own wounded motivation of the ego wanting some sort of gratification or validation. And once we become aware of that, we become aware of maybe what wounded motivation or what part of us is seeking love and acceptance and approval. The shadow side of rescuer is often overachieving, overstepping in order to get love. because somewhere along the line we probably got a little affirmation for that and then built a concept of like, I'm not that. I'm capable, right? So I can do for others what they can't do for themselves. That is a tricky, slippery slope, right? So that's the shadow side of rescuer, like we've talked about in a previous transmission. I think we talked about that at Mont Blanc. That the shadow side of rescuer is really like, I want the validation of being the one who's got it all together. So what is the rewrite to rescuer? It's loving presence. It's non-judgment. So there's nothing to fix. There's no judgment that something's wrong with that person, situation. There's nothing to fix. And this starts to get really interesting. And this takes a lot of discipline to let the outside world fall away and come internally. Because we've all been so conditioned with, we have to make things right. There's a right way, there's a wrong way, and all the judgment. So if you can let all of that go and just come into loving presence with what is, and a state of coherence within yourself, you might still have the inclination to get out there and, change things or fix things, but you'll be able to watch them now without them running your life and being the lead of the life. And you can just watch them, and you can watch the impulse without acting on it. And the more you watch it and the more you are with it with a lot of love, you'll start to unpack what that part is really about. And it doesn't have peace. And so you can let it talk your head off. But yeah, but wait, if we don't do anything, yada, 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 right? And underneath that is some sort of fear. So we go deeper and deeper in the shadow excavation until we get to just being able to love all of it and come into a state of equanimity. And then here's the paradox. From that state of loving presence, equanimity, and the release of judgment comes the most powerful healing on the planet. Because now you are a coherent, balanced, harmonic fractal of source, and you entrain the field. That coherence begins to entrain. So, right, to break it down, there's some sort of crisis, and if everyone is spinning and spiraling and getting angry and judging and projecting and blaming, there's not a lot of peace and there's not a great resolution, versus one person in that storm of chaos who is able to hold this coherent state can begin to retrain and entrain the nervous systems, let alone the bigger multidimensional physics of what's possible then. So a lot of people have asked me, how do you do your field work? This is how. It's the field, my multidimensional structure, that works with advanced geometries to be able to do this and bring much more coherence. But I'm doing it right now in concert with the stones to bring through this live transmission, which is way more than just a talk. So let's see the stone. We're gonna get this guy in here. Yeah, that one. There we go. I recently met with a wonderful being and client in Norway, and at the very beginning of her day, it was let the dantian, right below your navel, your instinct, your gut, lead you forward. They were saying, show her how you do it. And I hadn't really stopped to think about how I do this, but it's why I placed myself at this stone, because I could feel it. I didn't think it, and I didn't even feel it in my heart. It was down, it's like down right below the navel, is known as the dantian, and kind of leading me forward, feeling our way forward. Does this feel right? No, that doesn't feel right. Making decisions in life becomes much easier when we're doing it from that place. Up here, it's back and forth, right? So let's let this kind of finish coming through. I'm being told. They're saying back it up. Okay. Back it up. There we go. Now you're going to get my field and you're going to get the stone. So let's go ahead and drop in a little bit more. So go ahead and just practice. Drop out of the mind and into the heart space. And then drop again from the heart space down into the dantian, down here below the navel. And there we go. You might feel it. You're going to feel a lot more centered in your being. You won't necessarily feel so top heavy, just in the mind alone or the intellect. Okay, and there's a lot clearing from, especially here, the throat. There we go. So go ahead and let yourself drop in even more. Keep your eyes open, because there's a lot that's going to come through the screen now. There we go. We're initiating a system rewrite, the rescuer rewrite into loving presence. Ooh, yeah, lots and lots dropping away. We're initiating quite the clearing and a rewrite of the multidimensional template. So I'm seeing some beautiful geometrics as they shift. And then let's amplify that. Now that there's greater coherence, less distortion. Yeah, there we go, amplification, and the stones are joining us. Whew. Setting yourself in a little bit of a higher harmonic. And nothing is wrong and nothing needs to be fixed or rescued. You're simply going to be in loving presence and not judgment with what is. And again, paradoxically, become a very potent, powerful healing force, or presence, I should say. This multidimensional template work is having profound impacts on the lives of my clients. Just this week alone, I've been blown away to see what's happening. And I'm really grateful that I get to be one of the ambassadors that gets to bring this through at this time. So look for me on, we're getting interviews on lots and lots of podcasts. If you have a podcast and you'd like me to be a guest, I'd love to. And bring not only the discussion about this inner technology out, but the actual application like we just did out. The more that we do this, the more that's going to unlock, and it's just going to start to create a ripple effect, you know. All right, well, this was super fun to do this here. I'm going to stand up so you can see the stones. You can see the beautiful ocean behind me. There we go. Now you can see the whole circle. Thank you so much if you're able to join me live. And of course, for those of you watching the replay, leave me a comment. Let me know what you experienced during this. And then, you know, a few weeks will go by and you might notice some changes in your external environment. Things may be moving forward. My wheelhouse is soul plan alignment for the world's healers, so making sure that you all can carry out the blueprints you came with, and we can get stuck. And so using multidimensional template technology is one of the most profound ways I know of to help shift and get things moving. So you just learning how to listen carefully, using your instinct is a really, really critical component of this, so that you don't allow the intellect to override, right? All right. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in the next live transmission, wherever that happens to be. After my event tonight, I fly out to London tomorrow. All right. I love you all.